Spartacus versus Gannicus, always a highly debated topic amongst the Spartacus fandom, and today we will take a close in-depth look at both fighters and their respected fighting style, as well as their skills within it, shall we? Let's begin. Combat skills and training. Spartacus was always a gifted fighter, already having had experience prior coming to the Ludus, and honing his skills in and outside of the arena to the max. Spartacus really started getting into his prime after around episode 8, in which he had flashbacks fighting in the arena. These were the times he really accepted his fate as the bringer of rain and champion of Capua, thus also adapting the Democles fighting style and making it his own. Not only this, but he's also skilled with much more diverse fighting arsenals, absent the two swords, and also understands most fighters such as with spear, shield, murmillo and such. Spartacus was really at his peak at the last season in War of the Damned, where he basically was a one-man army on his own. He could easily beat the likes of the Egyptian and most top-tier fighters as well, aside of the champions of course. Not only this, but since Gannicus also fights with two swords, Spartacus would be able to fight him with knowing the style in and out. Of course, same would be applied to Gannicus if both were to fight with the same style, the two swords. Now of course same can be said for Gannicus because he was basically already introduced as a champion and a one-man army in Gods of the Arena in the Ludus. Talent is on his favor as well. Spartacus and Gannicus both possess immense stamina as well as physical strength, and Gannicus has shown that against Kerberos. With brute strength, he basically, you know what he did to Kerberos' face. I won't have to mention it. Gannicus was a beast. Spartacus' time as a gladiator and rebel leader forged his body into a formidable weapon. His muscular endurance and build, as well as ability to withstand punishment, were crucial in his victories. Gannicus, too, possessed exceptional physical strength, which allowed him to overpower opponents and endure lengthy battles. It can be assumed that both fighters are relatively evenly matched in terms of physical attributes. This was also made clear within their encounter they had in Vengeance. Whereas Gannicus would be the more entertaining fighter and more of a showman, Spartacus would be the one to aim for a killing blow in the arena, rather than to entertain the crowd. Strategy and tactics. In terms of strategy and tactics, Spartacus showcased remarkable leadership and the ability to adapt to different situations. He was known for his tactical acumen, leading his fellow rebels in successful battles against the Roman forces, as well as having fought with his mindset within the arena itself numerous times. One such showcase of his strategic maneuvering in the arena was with Varro, against a much bigger sized opponent. Gannicus, while not displaying the same level of strategic leadership as Spartacus, was highly adaptable and resourceful in combat. He often utilized his agility and creativity to outmaneuver opponents. Spartacus' strategic thinking and experience in leading a rebellion could potentially give him an advantage in planning and executing a fight to the death, whereas Gannicus' brute force and talent could combat and counter this style of Spartacus. So, Spartacus would have to come up with a different tactic than usual against a godlike Gannicus within the arena. Motivation and determination. Motivation and determination play a significant role in a fight to the death. Both Spartacus and Gannicus were driven by different motivations. Spartacus fought for his freedom in later seasons and the liberation of his fellow slaves, giving him an intense determination to overcome any obstacle. Also, given in the arena, Spartacus' solely purpose would be to kill and nothing more or less, not entertaining the crowd, because he is the bringer of rain. He would be favored regardless if he entertains the crowd or not. This gives him a great advantage. Gannicus, while initially driven by personal glory and pleasure, later became motivated by a sense of purpose and the desire to fight for a cause. And Gods of the Arena perfectly showcased that a Gannicus fighting for glory and the fame in the arena would be a hard obstacle to maneuver around for someone like Spartacus. The emotional intensity of their motivations suggests that both fighters would be highly committed and relentless in the arena. Now, there's something else really important to consider. Many like to compare the fight they had in Vengeance and base off their fighting skills of that fight alone. While that is fine, taking it solely is just wrong. The reason is simple. Spartacus did not fight Gannicus with an intent to kill him, as he saw a potential recruitment for his cause within Gannicus, even as they fought, and that's what he wanted to prove with this fight for the cause. Spartacus did never intend to kill Gannicus and didn't go all in, therefore. Gannicus, on the other hand, didn't fight to kill either, at least not entirely. All he wanted was to get out of there. But there's one crucial thing to consider in this fight. Gannicus got told by Spartacus that he lacks the loyalty, a quality he is unfamiliar with, meaning Gannicus was in an all-rage mode, because these words coming out of Spartacus's mouth reminded him of the old times in the Ludus and all that happened. This means Gannicus fought more seriously than Spartacus ever did. Gannicus did not fight on a daily basis either before this fight occurred, and was more of a partial fight, partial travel, and fight to earn coin type of person at that point, since he was a free man. Whereas Spartacus fought on a daily basis to fend off Romans hunting him, and he was not too long ago still in the Ludus when he encountered Gannicus and still being freshly out and having trained day in day out. Now, both Gannicus as well as Spartacus exhibit distinct fighting styles. Gannicus relies on a flurry of offensive moves, emphasizing pure aggression, while Spartacus employs various grips on his swords, showcasing exceptional creativity in combat. Spartacus possesses remarkable anticipation skills, enabling him to effectively counter offensive attacks by identifying them clearly. Though in contrast, Gannicus relies on blocking incoming strikes with his swords, while Spartacus excels in evasive maneuvers to avoid contact altogether. Regarding their motivations for fighting, Spartacus possesses a greater purpose beyond personal gains, fighting for the freedom and liberation of his fellow slaves. His motivation and drive exceed that of Gannicus. On the other hand, Gannicus basically just genuinely enjoys fighting and approaches it with a level-headedness that allows him to fight based on instinct and pure enjoyment. This enjoyment helps alleviating pressure, allowing him to perform well even in basically inebriated or non-serious situations, you can say, in one-on-one battles specifically. Gannicus also consistently proves himself to be the superior fighter against almost anybody he fights. Although there are valid arguments for both Gannicus and Spartacus on who would win, considering Spartacus's exceptional creativity, unwavering focus, and relentless determination, it is likely that he would emerge victorious in at least 6 out of 10 battles or so against Gannicus. But this is of course not a final statement. Gannicus would of course have the chance to win as well. You never know how the fight would go out. One of the most important things to see here is though that Spartacus can also fight with different combinations of weapons, such as with spear and shield, spear and sword, and other combos, giving him the ultimate advantage against Gannicus. Their bout with the Egyptian is also an active talk argument. Gannicus killed the Egyptian in rage mode though. This means Gannicus needed to be in serious rage to be able to kill someone like the Egyptian. Although this does not mean that Gannicus on his usual form would not be able to do so, especially in the arena. But the one we saw with Spartacus on the other hand straight up just put him on the ground on his back without needing to be in rage, but rather with strategic countering and skill alone. This was a remarkable feat and needs to be considered to give a final verdict on who would win. All this being said, as a final verdict, if Gannicus is fully trained and specifically for their fight, it would be a 5 out of 10 win for either of them in my opinion, as they both are equal in this state, because we never really saw Gannicus fully trained through and fighting in the arena. He was even sometimes drinking and fighting in the arena and gods of the arena because he could allow himself to do so given his gifted talent and skill alone, without needing to train much like the others have. I would say that Spartacus overall though might take the upper hand and beats Gannicus 6 out of 10 times if we take Gannicus from the series. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to fucking mention this. There was one feat that puts even beating the Shadow of Death to the shadow, and that is the feat of Gannicus fighting a man completely blindfolded and winning the fight with pure skill as well as determination. They both know to defend against many different styles, but Spartacus, as an advantage, also fought them himself and with them himself in the series, as we saw. Both Gannicus and Spartacus were never really seen losing a 1 versus 1 either. Really, in the whole series. I mean, Gannicus never. He was basically introduced as a champion, and from there on we saw him that way. But on Spartacus, after becoming the bringer of rain, Spartacus never lost a 1-on-1 either. Gannicus was already introduced as champions. And yeah, this would basically be my personal take on who would win against Spartacus versus Gannicus. And there's never really gonna be a final answer to this one. Only just a rough guess based off of the facts that we already know, It could also drastically, be completely different than what we said here. We don't know how a fight in the arena would go out and how they would prepare for their fight in the arena. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in my next Spartacus video.